Amon-Ra St. Brown. The point I was trying to make, a fourth round pick, a guy that, again, the 40 was too slow, right? 40 too slow. He's not like these other receivers that were coming out, but he works his ass off, and he's in incredible shape. Like he's ripped, and you see the production. He stays in shape. He doesn't get hurt rarely. So for him and his ceiling, he's coming off a career year. He actually exceeded my expectations. I thought 1,400 yards, double-digit TDs. He had 1,500 yards, over 1,500 yards. So coming off a career year, all-pro team, Pro Bowler, how far can Amon-Ra St. Brown take this? And if you look at some of the wide receivers, statistically, right, like you go through the top receivers this year, you have Tyreek Hill at number one with 1,800 yards, basically. CeeDee Lamb with 1,700. St. Brown was third with 1,500. Then you have Puka Nacua and A.J. Brown as the top five receiving leaders. But it depends how you look at it, guys. Like, because you could also argue, well, that's the top five receiving leaders, but I think Justin Jefferson and Devontae Adams are better. And which, you know what, that would be fair. Where would you put Amon-Ra St. Brown next year? Where can he get to?
Next year?
In terms of rankings. Like not receiving yards, but like when you bring up
like the best wide receiver in the league.
This is what I'm going to say.
That top five range.
He is. And this is what I'm going to say. Last year, this season that just happened, he was the third best receiver, and he was top five, top three, easily. Like he was the third best receiver in the NFL, hands down, no question. Only Tyreek Hill. Tyreek Hill and CeeDee Lamb are better than him. That's it. Going into next year, definitely top five. I think you can go Tyreek Hill, CeeDee Lamb. I'm still going to go with Justin Jefferson and Amon-Ra St. Brown. And then that last one, if you want to go, and this is a kind of like a where does your heart go? Like a Devontae Adams, AJ Brown, Keenan Allen,
Chase going crazy next year.
Mike Evans. Like there's a list of guys there, but I think there's four guys in the NFL right now who are very consistent and who are dogs. And I think though that it's those four guys right there. Amon-Ra St. Brown and everyone's list should be in the top five. There should be no question anymore. The only reason he hasn't been, or if he's not, is because he's playing for the Detroit Lions. And you guys know how those lists and those players go when that happens.
Right.
They see Detroit Lions and they run away. They turn their head. And that's just a fact of the matter. But he's top five, hands down, going into next year.
And Callie Max had a good comment. Said we have a lot of mouths to feed, J-Mo Gibbs, Sam, and all that. And that may take away from what people are thinking about St. Brown around the league. But people in Detroit know how much he means to this offense. And I'm sure going into next year, obviously St. Brown's going to be even more known around the league, and they will have coverages out, to slow him down. So Ben Johnson's going to have to figure out different ways to get him involved. And that's where guys like Sam Laporta and J-Mo will draw some eyes away for him, and Ben will get him worked in. So his yards always may not be at that 1,500 mark, but obviously he's going to be in that 1,100 plus range. And if he's still bringing that productivity, that's really all that matters.
To be honest, I think he hits that 1,500 again. I think he goes back to back.
Well, I'm saying if he doesn't, it's not like a disappointment by any means.
Oh, yeah.
It just means more other people are getting involved, and the offense is still flowing at a top five rate, then it really doesn't matter.
Yeah. And that's where I'm at too. Like that's why I made that clear with the numbers thing, because I don't see St. Brown getting like the volume, because I said already Laporta's going to get 1,000 next year, like if he's healthy. J-Mo's going to have increased production. So where does that put Amon-Ra St. Brown? Let's just give J-Mo 600, 700, 800, wherever you want to put him. He's going to get better. Like St. Brown can't get 1,800 on top of that. Like now we're getting into crazy amounts of. So I think for St. Brown, I'm with you, Booner. I think another 1,500 yard season. But if we're talking like where does he rank, guys? If you're going off, when I throw the football to you, you catch it. Like St. Brown is up there for reliability. He's up there for route running. He's up there. He's increased his yards per reception. He's increased his touchdowns. So now he's a red zone threat. Like he's more, and he's good to me at all kind of three levels. He's not a legitimate deep threat consistently, but yards after catch, guys, was the biggest thing he took a step in this year. Like
it's huge.
If
we talked about that before the year.
Yeah, if we're talking about a complete wide receiver, I'd put him top five easily next year. Easily.
And guess what? He was the best receiver remaining in the playoffs in the conference championship games.
Absolutely.
All these receivers, CeeDee Lamb knocked out, Tyreek Hill knocked out, all these other guys hurt, knocked out of the playoffs, didn't make the playoffs. St. Brown was on one of the best teams, and he was the best receiver. So you could argue that he is up, like consistently going forward. He needs to be up there in those.
I would say like even top five. I think top five of his floor, because when I'm looking at it, and this is not a knock to CeeDee Lamb, but CeeDee Lamb, how many 1,000-yard rushers were in Dallas? how many 1,000-yard or close to 1,000-yard receivers in Dallas? Like, again, this is not a knock to CeeDee Lamb, but if Amon-Ra was damn near the only option outside of we're replacing with Jake Ferguson and Tony Pollard, Amon-Ra, if he got 1,500 yards in Detroit, he's getting 1,700 yards in Dallas. So when you take that into account, his ceiling, in my opinion, is top 3 because I don't see a way that I don't think he's better than Tyreek Hill, and I don't see a way that he has more production than Tyreek Hill, and same thing with Justin Jefferson. But then you talk about the Jamar Chases of the world. If you go look at the production, yes, Jamar Chase more talented. I'm not even going to argue that. Production, very similar. When you talk about Amon-Ra just continuing to get better and Jamar Chase, I think he's going to have a monster year, but he's always dealing with injuries at some point. And I just truly think, especially yard after the catch, they're very similar. Amon-Ra could very easily be top 3. I think his floor is top 5.
Do you guys think ever, and I guess this is a question for all of you guys, do you think that I think he has the potential and like his ceiling, he could lead the NFL in receiving yards one season. Like I would not be shocked if next year he came out, got 16, 17. Guys aren't like a couple years ago, Stephon Diggs led the league with like 1,600 yards or something. You're telling me that there's not a year where he can go get 1,700, and I get all of the weapons and all of that. But like we're acting like same like I think there's a chance that one of these years St. Brown's he's going to get more targets out. He's going to be relied on a couple times more. So like, and it just depends on the year, obviously, and it depends on if a guy goes down and gets hurt. But like I think there's a chance that there's a year like this is his 3rd year, and this is really year 2 of him actually like having a full-on season. That's only basically year 2 of that. He's not even close to his prime yet. Like let him get 3, year 4, year 5. Look at what the Devontae Adams of the world do in year 5, year 6. I wouldn't be surprised if there's a couple years down the line, he's just dominant and no one can guard him. And he's out there getting 1,700 yards and he leads the NFL in receiving yards. Would not be surprised.
Well, you got to think
for his ceiling.
Just to add on top of that, guys, he missed a game this year too.
And last year he's missed 2 games. I think he had a concussion this year too, didn't he?
So,
he missed last year. He left the Dallas game with concussion.
He missed the Panthers game.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't.
Game you could have
I don't.
Off on.
When I say Booner, I don't think it's not me saying that he can't do it, but in my opinion,
that's why I said his ceiling.
I know, but even if he did, it would surprise me just because the play style that he has. I would be more likely to say receptions than yards, in my opinion.
Well, receptions is like for sure. Like he almost led the league in receptions this year. He was close.
But I'm saying because the amount of targets, to your point, in Detroit, like it would be difficult. I still think just because the people that are in Detroit, just his play style, he's not a deep threat. I think like Stephon Diggs, even he's a deep threat as well. Like Josh Allen will launch that bitch 75 yards to him on a dot. You don't really see that much.
But Lucas, again, like I'm going to throw this out there again. Like he missed a full football game, and he was only.
I mean, so did
200. Yeah, but he was only 200 yards behind. And like if he played that game, he probably would have been 100 yards short of leading the NFL passing or receiving yards. Like that's not in his second full season. That's not crazy to say that if he has a full healthy season and he goes out there, he could put 1,700 yards up, which he could have done this year if he didn't get hurt, and he would have been able to go out there and do that. Like I don't think that's crazy. I'm pretty sure he's leading the postseason, and like I wouldn't be surprised. I would not.
Yeah. No, it definitely could happen, but like you said, I think there would have to be a lot of chips around the league to fall the right way too. Guys like Tyreek Hill and stuff like that get crazy yak, but it's not like insane or that it could never happen. I do agree.
Yeah, and like guys, I believe like Sam Laporta going forward, like he's going to be in 1,000-yard. He's going to be a George Kittle like he was this year, 1,000-yard tight end. And then if we think J-Mo, he was out the first 5 games. Like, assuming he's healthy, guys, like there's some targets. You guys want to re-sign Josh Reynolds? Okay, there's 3 targets a game. Like, not saying Amon-Ra, I'm not saying I'd be surprised if he led the NFL in receiving yards, but I think it's more realistic, Lucas, to kind of expect another 1,500-yard year. I think that's possible in 17 games. Yes.
Yeah, and on top of that, DCP won in the chat. He was the yards after catch, the Yak King as well.
Yes, he was.
So he led the league in yards after catch, which was something that he didn't have that much before. Now he has that, and he's just going to keep getting better and better. Like he had 119 receptions. I think the Lions record's like 124 from Herman Moore. Like he's second in the NFL in catches as well. It's crazy.
Yeah, and the other thing to add into it, why I don't really see a significant jump, is the Lions are going to address their secondary. A lot of points are going to be. It's not going to be as many shootouts as you saw this year. So the Lions, they probably won't even have to score the ball as much. They can just keep it on the ground and kind of bleed the clock. So I don't think it's a huge pressure to see another jump from Amon-Ra. And I'm not saying that you guys were saying that, but just I think it would be very difficult, not impossible, but for him to take another jump statistically, if that makes sense.